So today I want to talk about online learning. Welcome back to my channel, or if you are new, welcome. Be sure to click the thumbs up and the subscribe button. My name's Katie. I like to talk about helping people a lot, basically. And if you watch to the end of the video, I promise you will see how this kind of fits into my whole helping people idea. Lately, I've been thinking about going back to graduate school. I graduated college with my bachelor's degree back in 2008, so you can figure out how old I am now. And I tried to get my master's about 2 years after that, and it just what the program that I was in and everything, it just wasn't for me at the time. But now that I'm older and I've had time to develop my interests and figure out what it is that I want to do, I've got some programs in mind. I've got to do the applications and everything, but maybe I'll share those with you on a separate video. But for now, also in order to build my resume for future jobs and also to build my resume to get into graduate school, I have been doing some online learning courses. So you can go to Coursera.org and EdX.org. And you can take some classes on there. Now, EdX has courses where you can do them for free. They also offer financial aid, or you can do a purchased version where you get a certificate of completion at the end. The purchased ones, it really depends on what class you're choosing. It could be like $50 to $100 for a little online course. And then if you're doing the paid version with a certificate, there are quizzes that you have to pass as you go. And then you can link the certificate to your LinkedIn. You can put it on your resume. They do offer financial aid for people who need it. And again, you can choose to do non-paid, but if you want to have the certificate to add to your resume, you will need to do the paid version. But I mean, if you have access to watch this on YouTube right now, you definitely have access to do these online learnings through these online learning platforms. And then through Coursera, I'm not completely sure how it works if you don't buy a membership, because I did buy a membership. I am doing the paid versions, like I said, for my resume, but also because I am able to do so right now, and it helps keep the free parts of these platforms free for other people who would like to access the education and information, and I think that's super awesome. So as far as the Coursera ones, those ones are a lot more involved than the ones on EdX. I don't know if it's EdX or EdX. I'm not completely sure how to pronounce that. But they are a lot more detailed, but you can also get a certificate through there. Now through Coursera, you can pay $50 a month for basically a subscription, and then you can take courses for free with that $50 a month subscription, or you can pay $50 a month for a subscription and then pay another $50 for each certificate that you want. They also offer financial aid as well, so you can visit that part of their website. And I just think it's a great resource that not enough people know about. I am looking to be able to get some discount codes, so let me know if you are truly interested in doing one of those platforms. I think the Coursera discount code is 50% for the first 10 people. I don't think the other one has any discount codes. Anyway, so far I have completed 3 courses and I am enrolled in 3 more between the 2 platforms of things that I just really am interested in, and also really would help my resume for grad school and stuff. But at the same time, I'm not doing it just because it helps. I'm doing it because these are the things that I'm interested in, and that's why these are the things I'm looking at going to grad school for, if that makes sense. So the first course that I finished was a Harvard X through the EdX website, and it was on children's rights. And I thought that one was super interesting, and I wish I made videos about it as I was going. I just kind of thought of this somewhat recently to share the information of the courses that I've taken online through videos on my YouTube. So I'm gonna try to do that as best as I can for the next several courses that I take. So I might go back to the ones that I already took and make separate videos about them, but that child rights one was super interesting. I just finished this globalization of the world one. It was through SDG, so it's the United Nations online learning platform. So that's what this one was through. And then I also finished another one basically about the globalization of diseases. And then I'm taking one about law and ethics, taking another one about human rights, and something else. So this most recent one I finished last night, and it's about the 6 waves of globalization. This might be kind of long, and I'm probably going to talk kind of fast, but I'm going to link basically like my transcript. You might see me looking at my phone because I have so many notes of what I want to talk about. It's not a complete transcript, but this is like basically all my ideas, and I'm going to link this to a Google document so that you can access it and read it if you want. But it's basically kind of a history of the world, and it explains how we got to where we are and what lessons we should learn from history to move us forward, if that makes sense. So this video is going to be me kind of like teaching you what I learned in the course, and it also helps me retain information. I'm just hoping to include some more educational content on my channel, and hopefully people find this stuff interesting. So we have the 6 waves of globalization. We have the beginning of humanity, which is the dispersal of Homo sapiens out of Africa. The second wave is the Neolithic Revolution, from when we went basically from hunter-gatherer society to an agricultural society, from being nomads to settling in towns and cities. Number 3, we have land-based empires, the Han Empire in China, and then also the Mediterranean. Number 4, the beginning of the modern world, especially with Columbus and Vasco da Gama, and trade between Europe and Asia. Number 5, we've got the Industrial Age, also known as the Anglo-American Age. First the United Kingdom, and then after World War II, the United States really shaped globalization. English became the main business language, and the world economy became more integrated. And then number 6, what we're in right now, is the Technological Age. Humans are linked through banks, overseas business, or spending money on vacation. Now you are taking, like, you're linking yourself to another country, ideas, migration, environmental disasters, and geopolitics. I just want to talk about luck versus skill first. So the Industrial Revolution, largely with the invention of the steam engine in the 18th century and its heavy use in England, showed that places heavy in natural coal could develop heavy industry. If you look at a map, Africa and South America were areas that did not have a lot of natural coal. A little bit in North Africa, a little bit in the South African tip, but that's pretty much it. Their land was not and is not really conducive to animal husbandry. You have to use camels instead of horses. And other nations were able to utilize horses heavily for work. They were also, therefore, these nations, the African nations and some South American nations, were heavily left out of the Industrial Revolution. And also based on climate, if you just look at a climate map of the world, these regions ended up with a lot of climate-based diseases like malaria and a lot of lack of rain for crops. So we've got the Roman and Chinese empires. Empires in history mostly spread east to west because they used to spread along the same kind of like weather lines, if that makes sense, instead of north to south. Physical ecology has a large role in shaping geopolitics and imperial dynamics. The Mediterranean Empire at circa 117 AD had a lot of wheat, so modern day that area has a lot of olive oil. They also had grapes, so modern day they have a lot of wine. This climate is also found in parts of Chile and California. The Mediterranean Empire basically did not seek expansion past these climate lines. North Africa was far too dry for them. So obviously in the future, technology developed to help people farm on certain lands, plows to clear land, animals acclimated to climates, which has shaped globalization, but there's many areas that are geologically unlucky and places that are sparsely inhabited. So there's this tendency for people to think that European and Americans got wealthy because of their own prowess and their intelligence and their smartness, which is partially true, but a huge part of it is luck because of because of the land that we ended up with. During the Song Dynasty in China, the Chinese actually invented a lot of technology that the Europeans became proficient at and get credit for, such as compass-based navigation, the market economy, including private ownership, paper currency, printing, movable type, which Gutenberg ends up getting credit for, even examples of banking, insurance, joint stock companies, mechanical clocks, gunpowder, and the start of guns and cannons. China was looking like a rising world power, but then Vasco da Gama happened and Columbus. So now we're at Columbus. So Chinese invented ocean-based navigation. Basically, they were the world power. They were the leading in world technology development at the time. Admiral Zheng He, I'm not sure how to pronounce the Chinese names, I'm really sorry, sailed 7 rather remarkable routes in the early 1400s. Then Vasco da Gama, the Portuguese sailor, in 1498, sailed to the southern tip of Africa, around into Asia. With the fall of Constantinople to the Ottoman Empire in 1453, the Mediterranean passage from Europe to Asia was now blocked. by the Turks, and so Europeans needed to find an ocean route to Asia, which that's why he sailed around Africa. At this time of great ocean expansion, China was getting invaded from the north, so they literally completely stopped their best-in-class ocean program, focused on building a land-based army. In retrospect, this is pivotal in Europe becoming a world power instead of China. When Europeans conquered new lands, they used Chinese inventions of artillery and gunpowder to dominate, enslave, and harm native inhabitants. Trade could have been good for the indigenous, but instead Europeans chose to conquer them and didn't really respect the human rights of the indigenous. Not just in America, in all of the countries. World trade. Columbus and Vasco da Gama started the idea of buying raw materials in one part of the world, shipping and processing them to another part of the world, and then exporting them to another part of the world. So this is modern day globalization, but it's actually a 16th century invention. So at this time we have the Columbian Exchange, which is one of the first most important globalized products with sugarcane and coffee. Other crops were moved around the world to other places where they could grow things like maize, which is corn, potato, cocoa beans, tobacco. These are the first great industries of early capitalism. Another thing that was brought around the world, unfortunately, was disease. The Europeans had developed alongside these diseases for millennia, so they weren't really affected, but they did carry with them smallpox, measles, etc. to these other countries. Anyway, because Europe became a place to manufacture textiles, they traded products for slave labor in Africa, which is the area roughly of today's Senegal, West African areas such as Guinea. African slave labor produced goods that fueled early European capitalism. 14 million Africans were enslaved and brought around the world at this time. Slave labor took hold in the United States South. Cotton Empire, obviously, sometime later. During all this global trade, started thinking about wars, conquering for land. So Portugal and Spain actually asked the Pope to determine which of them gets to claim what land, because they're both sailing around the world. So that's why modern day Brazilians actually speak Portuguese, because the Pope decided that Portugal gets the area, the land where Brazil was. Each country continued to conquer and claim more colonies over the next century. Portugal claimed the Azores, Angola, Mozambique. Spain claimed South America, Mexico, and the Philippines. Soon, the Dutch and British started claiming lands. Britain claimed the entire modern-day United States eastern seaboard. France claimed what is modern-day Quebec. Britain and France kept colonizing Africa and Asia and trying to get into India. There was the 7-year war between France and Britain. Britain gained control of many French-claimed lands in modern-day Canada. Then came the United States War of Independence, then the War of 1783, where France backed the colonists, which was important because the French had much more developed weaponry than the colonists and helped the colonists defeat the superpower that was Britain at the time. Because France financed the colonists' war, they were in deep debt, they raised taxes on their countrymen, and then came the French Revolution of 1789. The French monarchy was overthrown, Napoleon rose to power, then came the War of 1812. As you see, globalization is closely linked with geopolitics. After the Napoleon defeat, France restored its monarchy and joined the Concert of Europe, which is basically an understanding of peace between Britain, Austria, Prussia, and Russia. Now, I feel like this video is getting really long, so I guess I'm probably going to have to make this into a multi-part series. I'm really sorry, but I promise this is, we're going to get there. We're going to get to modern day pretty soon, and you will see how all of this history really just, like, things today just make so much more sense after you learn all this. And I feel like I learned a lot of this in school, but I just kind of like forgot, or I wasn't really interested in history at the time. But stay with me in the next couple of videos.